So DeMarco Morgan joins us now from Fayetteville, North Carolina. DeMarco, have we seen the worst of this flooding yet for that area? What's the biggest safety concern facing residents at this point?
Well, there's still concern right now. You said rivers are still continuing to rise. And when you talk about one of the biggest ones here, the Cape Fear River, it actually crested at 26 feet more than flood stage overnight. So there is still serious concern. And also, when you talk about some of these neighborhoods that are partially covered in water, there are some cars over here also partially submerged in water as well. Many roads impassable because of water, floodwaters, and downed power lines and downed trees as well. So there's still major concern that folks need to take it safely if you are planning to get out. But one of the frustrations from people here, they're upset a little bit because officials are not letting many of them return to their neighborhoods and their communities because officials are trying to err on the side of caution. They want you to stay away because some of those rivers could still flood many of these neighborhoods. But the good news is there is some good news. The waters, the floodwaters are starting to recede. The bad news is it'll be a long road of recovery for the folks who call this place home.
So DeMarco, what stood out to you from the conversations that you've had with people who've been impacted and affected by Hurricane Florence?
Well, the sad thing is there was one woman, an elderly woman, who said she just got back in her home 6 months ago after Hurricane Matthew. A lot of these people are just still trying to get back on their feet after 2 years ago when Hurricane Matthew came through here and flooded Cumberland County, Robinson County, a number of these neighborhoods, especially Lumberton. Lumberton was hit pretty badly by the Lumber River. But that's the one thing that has stood out. These folks were thinking they were on the up and up when you talk about recovery, and then to have this bam, this sort of slam, this blow come from Florence. It's been pretty tough for the people here. But the one thing that I do love to see, not just with Southern people, but just with people in general, whenever there is tragedy, whenever there's a natural disaster, there are so many people who come together. And it's not just officials, law enforcement, or volunteers. You have strangers who have been using their boats and helping to rescue their neighbors. So that's been one of the major things that has stood out for me. One, the recovery, even still trying to recover from Hurricane Matthew, but also the support and the love that this community has been showing to each other.
So the waters are receding a little bit, but there are still dangers out there. You know, yesterday you talked to us about the people heading out to the bridge to get a view of the water and the concerns about the railroad bridge. I know in the water, you mentioned something about a snake. There are all sorts of hazards. You know, what are officials doing to make sure that people stay safe as they maybe try to head back to their home or think at least they can come back to the area and you know, sort of look around?
Well, they're keeping the roads closed. At first, they just had the signs that said road closed or detour or whatever, but that wasn't enough to keep people from going around those barricades and going back into the neighborhood. So now they have officers who are stationed at these checkpoints and where the roads are closed now to make sure that people aren't venturing off. As far as the tourists who were on that bridge is now closed. It closed yesterday because the water started making its way in the street, and that was just enough for authorities here to say, you know what, we're not going to take any chances because it was predicted to crest above the bridge. It did not do so, which is a good thing, but it was still dangerous with the water leaking into the streets there. But all in all, things have been going okay. Authorities have been doing a good job with keeping people away. The crazy thing, and the one thing that can get you sick, more than 5 million gallons of partially treated sewage actually spilled into the Cape Fear River. So that's not good at all. So when you think about these floodwaters and people trying to wade themselves through just to get to their homes, you might want to think twice because you can get sick. And you also mentioned snakes. The crew just saw a snake behind us. I'm trying not to even look back that way if you can't tell. They actually saw a snake back here. So you want to be careful. And I told the producers, if that snake comes up close, that's the end of this live shot. A brother will take off and run. But all in all, everything is just, it's all good out here. So people are making the best of what they can.
I'm sure your crew will be more than happy to suck the poison out of your wound, DeMarco. They are team players.
They'll
like
probably be trying to put the snake on me.
Yeah. You guys have been working very closely together, but I don't know if they're that close. That's entirely too close.
No, we ain't that close, Emily.
DeMarco Morgan, thank you, my friend. Appreciate it.
You bet. You bet.